Hey, it's your financial maven, Samantha Besnoff, CPA. And for the last 30 years, yes, 30 years in the accounting world, I absolutely love sharing my insights and passion about money for individuals, entrepreneurs, and small business owners. Knowing your money and hopefully feeling less stressed about your money is what I call being financially empowered. Welcome to the Your Financial Maven podcast. Hey, it's your financial maven, Samantha Besnoff, here with your final Minisode for 2024. Can't believe today is December 31st, the end of 2024, heading into 2025. So, I have been waiting to do this small business minisode. A lot has happened in the last 3 weeks, and I think I was hesitant to do an update because there has been so much whiplash with a couple of things going on. And I'm going to start with those, and then a little final things as the year is wrapped up, but things that you can still do in January that need to get done and processed in order to do your returns. As you know, if you're a solopreneur, sole proprietor, and you file a Schedule C, that is always filed with your individual tax 1040 return. So those are not due until April 15th. But if you're a business like an S corporation or a partnership, you may need to file, or a C corporation, you may need to file your business return by March 15th. So there are some things that need to get done now. Other than that, some other things that you can do is to just review your year, get everything ready if you have somebody preparing your return, and analyze everything for this upcoming year. So I'm going to start with one of the biggest whiplashes I've had since December 3rd. Now, I have mentioned before, a lot of it has been just in social media content, not necessarily here on the podcast. But I have mentioned before the beneficial ownership information reporting requirement, which was set in place by the 2021 Corporate Transparency Act, and was in effect for 2024. And basically what it was is it was through FinCEN, which is the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, which is also part of the Department of Treasury, separate from the IRS. So I need people to understand this is not the IRS. This is FinCEN is what it is. And it basically wants to collect for majority of small businesses, not all small businesses. If you are a small business that is registered with your state, so an LLC, sole proprietor, single member, or an LLC partnership or LLC S corporation, or you are an S corporation, some C corporations, some partnerships. Again, there are some exemptions. They had some like 23 exemptions, things like that. From this, you may need to file this report. And it really is a simple form. It's basically a form that lists what your company is, where it's located, who are the owners, identification of the owners. And regarding Corporate Transparency Act, of course, it is to avoid money laundering, financial foreign influences, things like that. But here's where the whiplash begins. So back on December 3rd, there was a judge out of Texas, so a federal judge out of Texas that actually put a stay, an injunction on the filing of the BOI. So the BOI filing is actually, the original one was due January 1st, 2025. You had to go ahead, put that through. Well, then there was this injunction. So back on December 3rd, there was a case, Texas Top Cop Shop Inc. et al. Versus Garland et al. And basically this district court in the Eastern District of Texas issued a nationwide preliminary injunction. And what that injunction did was say, you are not required to file the BOI. So BOI is the short term for beneficial ownership information. And then the BOI, things were appealed, and then the BOI got the appeal and it stated no, that this is still due. And then the BOI FinCEN extended the date to January 13th, 2025 to make sure you file. And December 27th, last minute, right before year end, another panel for the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit actually granted the stay again. So this injunction, which was a different panel, but again, all in appeals, basically is granting the stay of the preliminary injunction. And what they're saying is that reporting companies are not currently required to file the beneficial ownership information form. Now, here's what I will tell you. You can still voluntarily file this. If you want to file it, go right ahead. Like I said, it's a very simple form, but it is something, like I said, it keeps whiplashing. At this point, it is not required. But as of this recording, who knows? In the next week or two, it could change again because it's going back and forth in the courts. It might even end up at the Supreme Court level. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a CPA trying to figure this out for my clients. I personally am not filing it for my clients. I'm letting my clients make that filing or the decision to file on their own, because it is now injuncted again, basically a stay on the requirement to file. And you can actually find all of this information on the BOI website. I will put the link in the podcast notes for you, so that you have that information. So a lot of whiplash the last few weeks of the year, especially this is for those reporting companies that have been registered with their state and meet the requirements. Like I said, not everybody does, but it's something you need to check out. So the other little bit of whiplash that has actually been occurring since Friday, December 27th, is for those of you that are small business owners that have heard and or have used bench accounting. So on Friday, December 27th, 2024, bench accounting just abruptly closed, laid off its employees and closed. I think it was like 500 employees laid off and about 11,000 plus small business owners with no access to their accounting and tax package and their work. What whiplash this occurred was on Friday, they said they were closing down. They'll open up Monday, December 30th. You can opt out to get your data, to download your data because the company was closing or closed. So Monday morning, which was yesterday, today's Tuesday, December 31st, 2024, here in the United States. I'm on the East Coast. I know by the time this recording goes out, some people have already celebrated the new year, but we're here in the United States. Monday morning, I started seeing people saying that they had a choice, that they could stay with bench accounting, which was now purchased by another company, employee.com, I think it was. And they could either stay with them or get their data and they're done. So I had made something on social media, like a post on Threads and several of my other media places. And basically just stated, hey, here are these options. I'm sorry that you're going through this because it's very frustrating. It is end of the year. Small business owners need their end of the year information so that they can not only review their financials, but get prepared for tax season, get their tax work done. And then listening and watching and reading people stating that not all their work has been completed for year end, that some people have been waiting since June to get data done. Now, I don't know much about bench accounting. I don't fault anybody for utilizing bench accounting. This was a choice a lot of small business owners made from a cost perspective and ease of use perspective. Nothing wrong with that. I have such grace for all these small business owners, entrepreneurs going through this. So please understand that I do not look down at you at all for doing this. This was a choice at the time that you made it that worked for your business. But now you guys are in a bind, in a pickle. And so interestingly enough, people were saying that they could either stay with the company because it was miraculously purchased last minute, which personally, in my opinion, I'm a little sketchy on that one. Again, I don't know the company. I don't know how all this came about, but it was really disheartening on Friday to say that they were completely closing down, laying off people, shutting off people, giving people 10 weeks to get their data off the site, to turning around on Monday and saying, wow, we've been purchased. Everything is still the same. That is, do with it what you may, but it's giving people a choice. They can stay with the company or they can opt out and say, I want my data. And a lot of people I'm seeing are saying, you know what, I want to take my data. I want to go elsewhere. But here's what I'm also finding is they're stating that if you opt out, they're not going to give you a refund and you take your data and you're gone. Now, I don't know if the data is 100% complete. People that I keep seeing are saying it is not complete. So I feel for everybody. This is such whiplash. It's very hard. It also puts a lack of trust, not only in these kinds of companies that do the accounting for you, these FinCEN companies that do these kind of things for you. Hold on. Okay, joys of being a mother. Sorry for the interruption. Anyway, so here's the thing. And I was talking about the lack of trust. So as a certified public accountant, I work with small business owners. I work with entrepreneurs. I help them all things tax and accounting when it relates to their books, whether, whatever accounting software you might use, or if you use Excel, I help you with your tax stuff, things like that, financial education. This is why I do the podcast. And I can see where these small business owners, their trust has really been broken to a degree. And not just so much from a software standpoint, but to trust somebody else to do the work. Now, here's what I will tell you, and not every CPA or bookkeeper or accountant does this, but a lot do. You have to find yourself somebody that is willing to work with you, who communicates with you, who talks with you and not above you or at you. You have to do your research. And I know it's year end and you're panicking because, oh my God, I got to get my books done. And I get it. And I feel for you. I really, really do. So we just need to help you, those of us that are really willing to step in to help you figure this out. Because I'll be honest, even if you used your own accounting software and you did it for years and then you want somebody to help it, the books may not always be where they need to be. There is still time. You have a couple of months till you have to file your tax returns. You might be able to just put it on extension to give yourself a little more time. I know people hate to do that, but we're trying to reduce your stress. So again, I'm really sorry that all this occurred. And I know that it is frustrating for all of the small business owners and entrepreneurs out there that trusted Bench Accounting, now employee or employer.com. Hopefully, maybe they really are good at what they're getting done and they realized there was a situation and they tried to figure it out. So again, I'm not bashing anybody. I'm not going to look down on anybody. I'm just putting that information out there for everybody to understand with that. All right, I'm going to shift gears a little bit away from the whiplash and a few things. So now it's year end. One of the biggest things you need to do before January 31st, 2025 are two things. Make sure your payroll, if you have employees for the year, is already being processed. Those W-2s are required by January 31st to be out the door to your employees. So if you're using a payroll service, make sure they're on that. In addition, you will have your annual payroll tax returns to file, federal and state. And if you're like me in the state of Pennsylvania, you also have to file local. In the state of Pennsylvania, we have federal, state, and local taxes due. In addition, now people say this is payroll, but it isn't really payroll, it's contractor work. So any vendors or non-employee contractors, and I'll leave resources in the podcast notes so you can find out more about that you have paid during 2024, $600 or more, you are required to issue either a 1099 non-employee compensation form or a 1099 miscellaneous form. And what you need to do, and this is something actually that I have stated before, the best practices is when you hire somebody that you do not know that is incorporated. So this is really for your single member, LLC, sole proprietors, LLC partnerships, sole proprietors, and partnerships that are not LLCs that you've paid $600 or more during the year. You are obligated to send these forms. So what you should be doing is obtaining what's called a W-9 form. Now, this W-9 form is similar to what, let's say you went and got yourself a regular job, W-2 paying wages. When you get hired, you file a W-4 to be able to initiate all that. Well, that's what the W-9 is for this, for your vendors and your non-employee compensation. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. When you're paying that vendor, let's say that vendor is someone that does your website and they are a sole proprietor LLC. That's income to them. It's an expense to you. You're paying them, but that's income to them. They're required to report it. And what I always tell my clients is you have to do your due diligence and your requirements laid out by the IRS. So if you are dealing with a vendor that refuses to give you the W-9 form, who knows? They don't want to record their income. They don't think it's necessary. That's not your problem that they refuse to report that income. What is your problem is not if you can't get the W-9, but not filing those 1099 forms. And there are ways then, if you can still file the 1099 with the information of the vendor and just say, refuse to give social security or EIN number. And then if you're continuing to work with that vendor, then you have to do backup withholding taxes. So it is extremely important, if you haven't already gotten W-9 forms for any of your vendors or independent contractors, non-employee contractors, gig workers, etc., and you've paid them $600 or more. Now, this isn't through your credit card. This is you cut a check through your bank account. You've paid them $600 or more. You are obligated to issue that 1099. Now, there is a whole thing about 1099Ks that has been going back and forth where the third-party vendors, the credit card companies are supposed to issue. I want to say the amount is at $2,500 this year. They keep going back and forth. The IRS just keeps going back and forth on that. But if you have paid out of your bank account $600 or more to a vendor or non-employee contractor, gig worker, you're obligated to issue these forms, and they're due by the end of January. So I've been working with my clients now for the last couple months trying to get these W-9s. There's always going to be stragglers, understood. So you really need to work on that. Or if you have an accountant that you work with or somebody that you can trust to work with to do that, I highly recommend. I mean, that's what I'm going to be spending the next 2.5 weeks, making sure I can get all those filed for my clients before the deadline on January 31st. So that is definitely something that you need to be aware of as a small business owner and entrepreneur. The other things are just really reviewing your financials, taking a look at your profit and loss, taking a look at any expenses, any areas maybe you can save some money on that, or reviewing your vendors. There is a rule of thumb, especially for nonprofits, that say every I guess it's actually 3 to 4 years, you should be bidding out and reviewing, if you hire an accountant to do an auditor review, if you're utilizing someone to do your website, it is always a good idea to review those expenses and have those conversations with the people that you hire to do that kind of work. And the reason why I say that is because you just never know, right? They might increase their prices. You may not like the work they're doing, or you like the work they're doing, but you can't afford it, those kinds of things. It is always a good idea to kind of review your expenses. The other thing you should be looking at is your balance sheet, and really looking at your assets, your cash accounts, any of your fixed asset accounts, things that you've purchased throughout the year. And then looking at your payables and your credit cards and loans and things like that, and just reviewing all of that. Again, looking to see where can we make changes and everything. The other thing you should have been doing, but if you didn't get to it yet, again, crazier, is kind of maybe creating a budget or some kind of review of everything, of where you want to be, your goals for the year, those kinds of things. So it's just really, really important for that. So again, these are things that can help you through the rest of the year. If you're utilizing Excel for your accounting software, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you find that you are growing, then there are other accounting software packages out there. There's QuickBooks, which has QuickBooks Online, Xero, which is another online accounting software, Wave, FreshBook. Need to try to find that software that works for you with what you want to do. Reach out to a financial professional like myself, a certified public accountant, an enrolled agent, a bookkeeper, somebody like that, to help you make these decisions. Sometimes it's a good thing to hire that. So with that, I'm going to roll down my minisodes. I'm really excited for Your Financial Maven podcast. I've got many more episodes in the can being edited and worked on, and will be out throughout tax season, since I'll be a little busy with tax season, but I will be having episodes coming out. Any changes in tax laws that occur for both businesses and individuals, I will absolutely be getting those out as well. Feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to me at yfmpodcast at yourfinancialmaven.cpa. And again, I'll put all that information in the podcast notes. Feel free to go to yourfinancialmavenpodcast.com. And I want to hear from you. I want to know your money insights, your money stories, questions you may have. So feel free to leave that information for me. But for now, this is Samantha Besnoff, CPA, Your Financial Maven, signing off for 2024. The purpose of this podcast is to provide general information on the subjects discussed. It is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It is not meant to resolve your specific financial needs or situations. Please consult with your CPA, tax, or financial professionals. Follow, like, and subscribe to Your Financial Maven wherever you listen to your podcasts. And make sure that you leave your money stories or questions for me at www.yourfinancialmavenpodcast.com. I cannot wait to hear what you have to say about money.